Hello, hello. So let's see what kind of ridiculousness we got today. It says here 17 people share how they put microfeminism into practice daily, and we should all take notes. No. The hell is microfeminism? On TikTok, people are going viral for sharing how they practice microfeminism. The small but intentional ways they do, actions they do to make the world a little more equitable. Okay, that's the image. All right, we recently featured a few creators who shared how they practice microfeminism, which included speaking up when men are talking over women. What about when women are talking over men? Thought we were talking about equitable. You're only doing one side, sir. If you're only doing one side, it's not equitable. You're simply favoring one side, which is not equitable. It's favorable. Scheduling play dates as a father so the onus isn't always on mothers. Scheduling play dates is not necessary. So there's no onus on the mothers to do that. They do that because they want to do that. What the hell are you talking about? Oh my God. Avoiding body specific compliments towards women, just to name a few. Avoiding body specific compliments. Well, if you're taking away all of the hardship that they can possibly have in life, so they can never really accomplish anything, what are you going to compliment them on? Uh, you could have complimented them on being a good mother, but apparently they don't want to do that shit anymore. In the comments, people had so many more microfeminism to add. I had to share them. My husband and I were both present for the house inspection when we were purchasing our house. Were you present for with your pocketbook when you were paying for the house? Equitable. Let's have some random feminists come yelling out that you should put your money up for paying for the goddamn house. And the inspector was very clearly and obviously speaking to me rather than directing every comment to my husband. I pointed out to my husband after and mentioned how wonderful and unexpected it was. That is not unexpected. The person who is selling the house or inspecting the house or whatever is going to direct this comment to you because the husband probably doesn't care about the minutia. And he knows that if he's going to sell something, it's far easier to sell to you because you care about image more, which means you're going to convince him to spend a bunch of money on shit that they don't need, that you two don't need. That's how sales work. Most salespeople focus on the woman instead of the man. It is not wonderful and unexpected. It is very expected and very strategic. Otherwise, if the man was presenting himself as the one that was taking charge of the situation, though, the inspector would direct his comments to him. But obviously, in this situation, your husband wasn't taking charge because obviously he didn't care as much as you did. Oh my God. Ridiculous. I was so thrilled. Oh my God. Would you go home and fiddle yourself to it? It just goes to show how low the bar is for how we expect to be treated. It goes to show how little you actually matter, ma'am. If that was the height of your day and you felt accomplished for it, you do nothing in the lives of you and your husband. You are the lowest common denominator. You do the least. If that was make you thrilled, I swear to God, you probably go through the moon if you actually made him a sandwich and he was happy about it because you do so little. That is not something to be proud of. If that makes you thrilled, that means you actually contribute very little. The only thing you did in that situation was actually show up. It's insane to me how people can show how little they actually do in life and they try to insult other people for not goddamn recognizing their breathing. She showed up and breathed air and someone acknowledged her. And she's like, oh, look at that. It's so unexpected. More people should do this. Really? What did you? Swear to God. My daughter's school mascot is a gender neutral mascot that will call it's just a goddamn mascot. Who gives a shit what gender it is? Oh my God. In the time honored tradition of the 50s, the women's team were called the Lady Mascots. Yeah, the ladies just thought it was a fun name. I don't like it's not sexist. They chose the name. Her sport, which has been both male and female teams, pushed back and insisted that they are all called the mascots. It was called the Lady Mascots because the founding members of the goddamn team were women and they thought it was a cool name to celebrate that they're all ladies. It was pro feminism. You ass hats. You literally erased their accomplishment by taking the lady out of the name. They were proud of it. Unbelievable. I work in the public library and we have mini book displays in the stacks where we're supposed to put new books as they come in. There's only a small amount of space on those displays. And if I have several books to choose from, I'll always display books written by women, people of color, LGBTQ, and minorities first. There's discrimination, you asshat. On one of the owners of my company does all of the accounting. No matter what, he lists clients in his system with the man's name first because that's the way it should be. To counter, I always list a woman's first when I write up all contracts. It's small, but it gives me joy. The owner decided how he wants his clients to be listed. And I guarantee you, most of his clients are men. Which means that when he lists their wives, the wives is secondary. It's just insane to me. The dumb shit that people choose to do. And I guarantee you, she gets fired. She's going to say it's because they're discriminating against her because she's a woman. You went out of your way to go against the owner's listing as an act of defiance. Probably got hired because of diversity too. Just yesterday, a 50 something female coworker and I, also female and long done with menopause, didn't need all those details. Just what is wrong with you? Received an email from a male coworker with the salutation, "Hi girls." I responded with a simple but to the point, "Thank you, boy." It's very condescending. He knows you're old. How's that malicious? I don't think you're done with menopause. It sounds like you're very much on it. "Hi, girls. I sent over the documents for Monday's meeting. Regards, Jerry." "Thank you, boy." You're an ass. 6, on Instagram, one user wrote, I don't comment on what people, women specifically, are eating other than saying it smells and looks delicious. What? Are people known to be commenting on what women are eating? Why are women posting what they're eating all the time? You think that's weird that they're posting what they're eating all the time? And it's even more weird to me that you think it'd be weird for people to comment on what they're eating if they're posting it. I'm a teacher and I try to anthropomorphize animals as female or gender neutral whenever I can. Why? Animals have actual genders. It's like the main common denominator between animals is that we have gender and we reproduce sexually. A disproportionate number of animal characters are male, and unless obvious girl indicators are present, color, bows, tutu, etc., people assume stuffed animals are male. The people buying the stuffed animals can make it whatever gender they want, you psycho. She's a teacher. This is Avery. Yeah, I guarantee you no one cared, but you did. You were very excited to do that. No one gave a shit. I work and volunteer for nonprofit organizations, so I have a request. So I have, why is this lowercase in this? So I have requested that they list both names of a married couple in the newsletters listing donors instead of the traditional Mr. and Mrs. Man's name, then last name. Probably because most of the people actually paying the money are the men. It makes sense to honor the donor who's actually paying you, the person who's actually being charitable, not the mouthpiece that's just speaking. If someone is going to donate to your charity, least you can do is actually honor them. If someone is donating someone else's money to your charity, and by virtue of paperwork, somehow have ownership to that money, and all they got was a missus, that makes sense because it's proportional to the effort they put in. Like, for fuck's sake, man. Like if the woman was making the money and donating, I guarantee you her name would be up there, which would make sense. You'd honor her for actually putting up her own money and donating, not virtue signaling through someone else's pockets. Like, why would you honor little effort? That's why the reason that men operate the way we do is because of we have a merit-based mindset. You do, therefore you're honored for doing said action or disgraced for doing said action. You don't just exist and breathe air and have a certain gender and then you get fucking accolades. I think women's name is just important, just as important to know. Is that what you meant to say? And I may influence other donors by knowing her as well. You're an ass. If a man interrupts me or tries to override my story point in group context, I straight up say, I'm still speaking. That is not how conversations work, ma'am. If you have to say, I'm still speaking and people are interrupting you, is because you lack brevity. You speak too much and a lot of the details don't matter. Like the lady up top that mentioned she was going through she's past menopause. That is unnecessary details that had nothing to do with the story. You're 50. Got it. Already said the whole thing and you added unnecessary details. If that woman was talking directly to me, I would interrupt her and continue with my story and point. People are not, you're not entitled to force people to listen to your stories. They are usually so shocked. Yeah, people typically get shocked when someone is being rude to them. I guess you can say it's rude for them to interrupt. Maybe because they already got your point, or they didn't get your point and you're wasting their time, and they want to talk too. I don't do this in an aggressive tone. It's still very aggressive, ma'am. Just as a matter of fact. Also, if another woman is speaking and a man cuts them off, I will say, I'm still listening to them. You must be a joy to talk to. People must love speaking to you. I'm a professor, and on my first day of class, I asked students to write the name they would like to be called and their pronouns on a note card. Oh my God. No. And I take it at the end of the class, at the end of class, I use the note cards to take roll and learn their names and pronouns, letting them tell me who they are instead of just calling names off the class roll sheet empowers them and sets a tone of respect for everyone in the class for a whole semester. This is a small detail for many of them. You should, instead of being a professor, be a kindergarten teacher because it sounds like you want to teach children because when you're working with adults, you don't need to affirm them. Eleven, my microfeminism. I am a man. Unnecessary details. You are, in fact, a bitch, sir. Is that when writing or speaking to or about a subject that has indefinite gender, instead of writing he or she, him or his or hers, I always reverse the order saying she or he. Why? Etc. It's quite a small thing, but my three grown daughters have noticed and approved. My ex is down with it. So you are father of daughters and you have an ex. I suppose you have a current as well. So you're just surrounded by women. And all you do is virtue signal and ass kiss. You are a pathetic excuse for a man. Hence why you are a bitch. When I work in a movie theater, I always made sure to make sure is what you meant to say. I always made sure I always, which means it should be present, future present tense. All right, you know what? I'm not even going to get to it. Sure to look at the woman back and forth with the man. What? Look at the woman back and forth with the man when asking what they'd like. So you made sure you look at the woman first when asking what they would like, and then you look at the man. The order doesn't really matter. You could just look at both of them because they're both in front of you. Just straight ahead. What would you like? You I had asked him I had asked him a question and then asked her a question or vice versa. So many people just speak to the man. The woman is just meant to sit there and it's barely acknowledged. If they're going to the movies and they're probably on a date, it's probably better to just speak to the man because if they're on a date Or even if they're not on a date, most likely if you start with the woman, she's just going to refer you to the man because she wants to see what he would order first, or he's going to pay, or she's indecisive and she doesn't really know what she's going to order until she has all the information in front of her. Until he says what he's going to order. If he's going to order a lot of stuff, then she feels free, she feels comfortable ordering whatever else she wants. If he's not going to order that much, she's not going to feel comfortable ordering a bunch of shit when it's going to be on his tab. She wants to take her cue from him. It would be what would make her most comfortable in most situations. So playing the odds, it's better to speak to the man just based on knowing people. But if you want to be a weirdo, sure, do this microfeminism thing. My microfeminism is calling men bossy and women bosses. I'm sorry to break this to you, but men are also called bossy when they're being bossy. And they're also called bosses when they're a boss. Only when necessary, like if the man is being an asshat. Yeah, that is the appropriate time to do that. Because I remember as a kid, I liked to take control of group projects, and I was always called bossy. Yeah, because you're taking control of group projects. No one assigned you leadership. You out of your mind. While the boys were just referred to as boss, and that frustrated me. They were probably referred to as the boss because everyone else acknowledged them. They didn't just go out of their way to take charge. People acknowledged that they were in charge. And no one had a problem with them giving orders because they probably respected them. You know, like I said, we're based off merit. So if they're recognizing them as someone that is in a position where they are more competent, then people would be okay with him taking charge. And they'll call him boss. 14. I am 66. Oh, God. You're 66 and you're about to tell me you're a grown child. So I've dealt with lots of misogyny. Ma'am, I guarantee you I've dealt with more misandry than you've ever seen misogyny in your entire life. And I guarantee people that know you have dealt with more of your misandry than you've dealt with misogyny. I have practiced microfeminism for decades. Exactly. You've practiced misandry for decades. Health insurance for my family was through my job. I went to a new dentist, and on the forms you fill out, there was a block for spouse. So I filled it in. The first statement I received from them was addressed to my husband's name. Sherman, 42 Wallaby, Sydney, Mrs. James, Mrs. James Jones. So, so you go for, what was it, like a dentist? What did she say? For decades, a health insurance for my family. I went through a new dentist. Okay, you go to the dentist and you fill out the spouse line and they send it addressed to your husband. Did you put your name in the spouse line? I don't understand. I don't understand what happened here. When I asked the dentist office why, when it's my insurance, I'm the patient, and my husband doesn't even go there. They said it's their policy. After asking them to correct this a few times, I told them I would find a new dentist. They said it's their policy? Okay, so they did do it intentionally. But that's weird. Why would that be a policy that they have? Are they like Catholic or something? Is it like a religious thing? I don't understand. That's weird as hell. That's a weird thing. But I don't understand the microfeminism aspect of this. I, this is just a weird. This is just a weird dental uh, thing. I that one confused the hell out of me. Continue. As I said, okay, so she's 14 and 15. As I said, I'm 66. So back in the day, when everyone sent Christmas cards, I, of course, was always the one to fill them out and mail them. When she wrote letters to me, my husband's mom would always address the letters to Mrs. John Doe, husband's name. Yeah, because that's her son. Is she not feminist enough for you? Guess what? The woman cares more about her son than you. Just because you both have genitalia that is feminine in nature doesn't mean she has to give a shit about you. Everything addressed to a couple always had his first name, then hers, priority, you know. Yeah, because that was tradition. The Mr. and Mrs., that's also tradition. Like those things are tradition. So yeah, you're a victim of tradition because your ego wasn't stroked enough. Think some man is jumping for joy because his name was listed first? Like, we don't care. It's just a traditional thing. Uh, I've always chosen women doctors for any of my medical needs. What if there isn't any? That's strange. It's strange. People always assume doctors are men if you talk about your doctor's visit, because usually doctors are men. It's only recently that a lot of women start going into those fields. I don't understand your point. I also try to select women professionals whenever possible for things like house painting, landscaping, or tax professionals. Why? Why not just choose who's good? You might get some women in there. I don't. And lastly, 17 years ago, when I was checking in at the front desk of my orthopedist appointment, the receptionist asked me for my husband's name. Why they always do that, I don't know. After I gave her my husband's name and asked her why she needed it, she asked me why my husband and I had different last names. Again, it's probably a traditional kind of practice. I told her it was because my husband did not change his name when we married. That's hilarious. Of course, they're going to put a picture of Rachel. Oh my God. Anyways, that is ridiculous. Until next time.